Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Sorry, we're running like 2 minutes late. We're running on epic time and I can hear feedback. So that might be a little annoying, but I hope everybody is doing amazing. Thank you guys for being here. So we figured we'd do an evening one. So we'll see how many people are on here and go from there.
Yeah.
I don't know. So like always, we encourage you guys to ask your questions. So just put them in the chat and then our team will send them to us and we'd love to answer your questions live time. So thank you everybody who has been on all of our webinars. That is amazing. And we've been getting a lot of really positive feedback from people saying that you are enjoying this time with us and that you are learning a lot. And so we'd love to hear more stuff from you guys. So do you like our hoodies? Woo! So we actually—
There's a story behind these.
Yeah, we actually bought these when we were at Universal. We actually got to go when we were, again, work hard, play hard, right? But we were in November when I originally relocated to Florida for the winter. We went and took a Rich Dad real estate investing education course. Tax and asset protection, so we can get started in the States. And that was November. And, I'll actually go on a tangent a little bit here, but which is typical Rochelle, right? So we're not surprised, but we'll go from there. So the way that I always look at things is manifesting, right? So some people who aren't aware of this art or don't believe in the power of the universe, some people are like, oh, whatever, you're just lucky. But honestly, I believe that I am blessed and I believe in the power of intention. And so it's crazy the ways things line up. But one of my big things for all of last year was I was saying that we are going to turn around and I was going to relocate to the States for the winter. That was my everything. That's pretty much what got me through last year. And I'm like, okay, no, this is totally happening. We're making this work. And then I wanted to be there by my birthday. So my birthday is November 15th. And that was what I kept saying. I'll be in Florida full time by my birthday. So everybody would be like, oh, anything but your birthday. I'm like, I'll be in Florida. I don't know, whatever. And then Alisa came to me a couple months before November and she's like, yeah, the universe loves you, doesn't it? And I was like, why? She's like, the tax and asset protection course, literally, and they picked different locations and places to have this in the States, but it was literally starting in Florida, in Orlando on November 15th. So if you don't believe in the power of manifesting and how the universe literally arranges things to, I guess, I don't know, I don't want to sound cocky per se, but the universe just provides. I'll leave it at that. So
you get what you put out there.
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
Yeah. So that was amazing. So we ended up flying in on the 14th. We went to the 3-day course. And then afterwards, we had talked about this bright future in the past. So Alisa and Wyatt had flown down and then I joined them for a day to go to Universal Studios. So that was my one day of fun. And we ended up getting these fun
rocking hoodies.
Yeah.
And if you go to our Facebook page, there's a few pictures of us that were in Florida while we're wearing these. So we did have some fun while we were wearing them. And actually we do enjoy them still. Yeah. But the looks we got driving a black SUV on the way here, wearing 2 red hoodies through the hood was rather entertaining.
In a black SUV, yeah. The cops were kind of just, giving the stink eye. Nothing to see.
No.
It's all good. So we wanted to talk about what the basis of this epic hour is. So we've mentioned this before, but it's an acronym. So our team came up with this amazing 4 words or 4
concepts.
Yeah. And so it stands for entrepreneurship, personal development, investing, and creative financing.
So yeah, those are the topics we're going to cover off throughout this hour. And again, we're not here to just pitch our products. We're honestly here to cover these topics. And the lead for this hour comes from you guys and your questions. If we don't get questions, we are just going to pick some of these topics that have happened to us throughout the week, and then we'll cover off with some stories and some episodes and things that have happened.
For sure. So so I'm just going to read exactly what's in here and then we'll just kind of play off of that. But while some people might step back under pressure, we invest in ourselves, set goals, and move full speed ahead. So for people who've been watching us, whether you have just joined our journey or you've been with us since the beginning, that's exactly how we move. It is full speed ahead. It's, take no prisoners and just make shit happen. And that's just how we move. It's pretty much, yeah, how we go. And anybody who knows me, anybody who's had a phone call with me, anybody who's had a lot of experiences knows that I am heavy action. So if you look at personality types, I definitely am like pretty much all action, and then the rest just kind of fits in with whatever's left over. So if you can keep up, awesome. If not, hit pause and you can rewind and rewatch.
There are days when I just watch her run.
True. Awesome.
So it looks like they've given us some actual topics here. So this week on Epic Hour, we will discuss finding motivation as an entrepreneur, the do's and don'ts to become and stay motivated, what makes us successful, goal setting, when routine, and when. Is that what that says?
I think it's supposed to be like when to stay in a routine or be a routine, and then when to take on a challenge.
Yeah, okay. And then education recommendations. Cool. And plus, we practice what we preach. Yes, we do. During this webinar, Alisa and Rochelle will reveal their newest goal for Epic Alliance Inc. Okay, so stay tuned because that won't happen till closer to the end. We all know how this works, folks.
You're stuck with us. Dun, dun, dun. Awesome. So do we have any questions? Okay, no? So we have a few participants. I appreciate you guys for being here. I know a lot of people are going to watch the recording and the replay too, so that will be cool. But yeah, let's just go topic by topic then.
Sure.
So finding motivation as an entrepreneur.
This is where you get incredibly creative.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, I'll talk from my side on this. It's my why. It's my grit. It's my pure determination. I believe I spoke on another episode about the difference between a goal and a vision and a why. And to me, the why has to be an emotional moment in your life that when your tank is literally as close to the red line of E as it can get, that those moments will give you that extra push to the next gas station. It has to be something that just drops you to your knees when you think about it, and it will give you that push. So that's one way to stay motivated. The other side is there's either a push or a pull. You internally, you either have a push or a pull happening. So for me, the pulls are like how I want a fancy sports car. I love Camaros, and I totally like, I'm just that. Like I want a car that goes really fast. I probably have to have my own paved road so I can drive it really fast. Otherwise I'll be in jail. Anyways, but that's a pull. A push is like I talked about with the why, where when you're dealing with the why, it's something that'll just, give you that little extra because it's like, oh my gosh, I never want to be in that emotional position again. So those are things that help to motivate me.
Yeah, for myself, I've just naturally always been very goal oriented. So, and, I truly believe that I've just got entrepreneurialism in my DNA. I've always wanted to own a business. I couldn't wait to turn 12 so I could start babysitting. And I used to be booked like pretty much every evening and weekend. I made hundreds of dollars as a kid just babysitting. And then from there, I couldn't wait to turn 16 so I could get a real job. And, I wasn't raised by entrepreneurs. And so I've always loved the idea of making money. I've always been willing to work really hard for it. And then from there, I actually went and did junior achievement. And so that was a great after school activity for me because I wasn't sporty and any of that kind of stuff. So this is where they work with you. You actually learn how to create a product and create a business and then market it. So I love that because for me, I got to kind of use my talents and learn stuff that made sense for me. And then from there, I obviously, worked, and I pretty much had 2 jobs since I was 16, just because again, I've always liked working, not so much the school part. And then after that, I went to take my business management diploma. And so I worked at a bank. I've worked so many different jobs, but I never really found something that I was super geared up about to run as an actual business. And then when we really delved into the world of real estate, which we've talked about our story in the past, and we'll kind of focus on the bigger story back on another episode or whatnot, because it is very integral and it's convoluted and whatnot. But essentially the real estate made sense because for myself, again, being bored so easily, it was like, hey, there's so many different aspects and every deal is different and every house and, you're only limited by your imagination. And again, this is going back to the creative financing side of things, but that is the true fun that I had. So.
Real estate is the true item in investing where it can pivot and adapt. And that's, I think, our biggest draw to it. Like, as Rochelle's saying here, it's such a fundamental part of who we are now and what we are. And it's amazing that we have this to go after. Again, we don't expect everyone to have the goals and the aspirations. Like we say, we started this always believing our motto, it still is take over Saskatoon and then the world. And we've said that from day one, and that's not what everybody should do. I really think another thing for finding your motivation is you need to know who you are, okay? Because if you try to build dreams that are off of dreams that are someone else's, or you try to build dreams that aren't real for who you are, it's not going to motivate you either, right? You need to ask the hard questions. That is part of the motivation. You got to dig deep to your insides, your soul, all those parts and pieces, and be like, who the am I, right? Because you need to know, again, when those hard times hit, that's what you're going to have to grab for.
Yeah. And then other things are rewards, work for some people. So, set yourself. Yeah. I'm into the like work hard, play hard. Yeah. Right. So again, like the trip to Orlando, it was like, go to the 3-day seminar and then work really hard from the Airbnb and then get that one day and just have a blast, right? So it's important to stay incentivized and whatever works for you, right? So for me, I love experiences. I don't love things, right? I'm just not materially motivated, which again, everybody's different, not knocking anybody else. It's just the way I work. So for me, when it's like, okay, I'm going to go spend the winter in Florida and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to have, a week-long staycation, whatever, and I'll be able to visit with my friends and my family and do all the things. And then I'll go back at it and, whatever works for you, figure it out. And then just kind of build a plan around that, but make it feasible, right? If it's something where you're like, I'm going to work really hard and, make a little bit of money and then I'm going to go blow all the money on my reward. Well, that's not going to get you any further ahead, right? So just be really smart around that, but make sure you are taking the time to celebrate the wins.
Yes, absolutely. The do's and don'ts to become and stay motivated. Yeah, there's a lot here. Staying motivated, it's kind of a twofold word, right? For us, it's what we're doing is our lifeblood. So staying motivated isn't hard for us. So it's kind of it's not a difficult question to answer, but it's something that is.
Okay. Hey guys, we are having technical issues, so we are going to turn around
and have a tour. We are recording from one of our main floors in one of our Airbnb.
So let's see if you guys can see, but we're just going to, this is the living area. So we're set up in the dining area. Those are difficulties. And then here we go for the dining area. So this is a great house on the main floor. There's a recliner. I was just saying earlier. Here we've got the nice living area. It's nice and open concept. We've got the TV and the cable. We have cable at this house, so that's kind of cool. And then in here, we are going to go down. So it's a bungalow, pretty cool. On the bottom, one on top. Oh yeah. So in here, I went with kind of like a little bit of a Marvel theme. So went with colorful, and then this again, Marvel. So, nothing too fancy, but people seem to like it, which is cool. And then here we got the bathroom. So this house was actually a really good buy. Up here, we just put in a new countertop, I think, for the bathroom vanity. And then, just painted, I think is basically what we did here. So here we've got another queen size bedroom. So again, got repurposed furniture, buy most of it on Facebook, Airbnb, oh my gosh, Kijiji, whatever needs to be done. And then, peacefully decorate. And then we've got the kitchen. So again, it's a 3-bed, 1-bath suite. So it's nice and private. And then there's the 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom basement suite. And then here we got the kitchen. So if we wanted to flip this house, we would have had to put in a brand new kitchen. And the market was a little bit down, so it didn't really make sense to financially do that. So that's why we decided to use it as an Airbnb until eventually the market will come back. And then we will turn around and flip it at that point in time. But in the meantime, cash flow it as an Airbnb and not have to do all the renovations. So, okay, where are we at? Okay, yeah. Sorry, guys.
Okay, we're back. So yeah, again, this is why, everything's a little unpredictable, but that's okay because you guys are pretty chill and we just go with the flow, right? And I still don't see any more questions. Okay.
Nope.
All right.
All right. Well, so we were at the do's and don'ts to become and stay motivated. One of the things that Rochelle and I found with running a business and everything going on is when you're this dedicated, there's tends to be sometimes an energy drain to some degree. One of the things we realized is we minimum for every 3-4 months have to kind of remove ourselves and find a course or a conference where it's really uplifting and it's really self-motivated. Honestly, one of the last, we were at Grant Cardone's 10X back in January. And I mean, that was 3 days of just amazing interviews and amazing content. And before then, the other one that really hit home that we're looking forward to whenever they put it on again is Thrive.
Yep.
That was a phenomenal event. So that I think is a big motivator for us, is removing ourselves, putting ourselves in with this group of people and these presenters that are just like, hey, I was where you guys were. I was in the trenches. I know what it's like. Let's literally look at this and break it down. And they just go through their struggles and you're just like, yeah, I get it. I'm there. I'm going to be out of there. There's a bright future. There's all these things. That would definitely be one. And if you can't, you're not at maybe a place in life where you can't afford to go to those events, like 10X, I think it was $150 and you could watch it live streamed. So yeah, you're not getting much of what you were saying. Horrible connection. Oh no.
So yeah.
Okay.
This is not going to work then. That's hotspotting it?
Yes.
You can try just laying the phone right on the computer. I have it beside it.
I don't know.
Let's try that. See if that works, guys. We apologize. We can't, we're not techie. Are we back?
Looks like it.
Wow, the universe is really playing with us today, guys. Sorry about that.
Well, hopefully you guys can hear us better now. Not sure.
We got a question. What type of people do you get an Airbnb? What are they coming to Saskatoon for?
Oh, cool.
Okay, so a question from, thanks.
Great,
now it's good.
Oh,
so
excellent. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Alan. So, yeah, what type of people come to the Airbnbs and who visits Saskatoon? Yeah, because who comes to Saskatoon, right? Yeah, I was actually shocked when I first found out that Airbnbs were a thing in Saskatoon. So we've been traveling Airbnbs for like 5 years, right? And again, I mentioned before, I buy so much stuff off of Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace and all that stuff, but I ended up going and buying some coffee tables from this lady. And it was a house in Caswell Hill, which is close to downtown in Saskatoon. And I showed up and I'm picking up these coffee tables and I was like, oh my gosh, your house is so cute. And she was like, oh, thanks. It's my vacation rental. And I was like, your what? She's like, it's my Airbnb. And I was like, in Saskatoon? Like, I was so confused. It was the weirdest thing because you know how sometimes something can be like right in front of you, but you don't even look at it because you're so busy doing other things. So that's pretty much what happened with this. And I was like, oh my gosh. She's like, want to come and have a tour? And I said, yeah, for sure. So they had basically bought a distressed property. Her and her husband did a renovation and then they just launched it on Airbnb. So it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house that in theory, if they would have rented it, for 1 month to somebody in that neighborhood, they maybe would have got $1,000 a month on the high side for rent, right? And she's like, oh yeah, I rented out for $90 a night. And I said, what? Like, who rents this? And she's like, oh yeah, people that are staying, long-term businessmen who are wanting to stay in Saskatoon. They don't want a hotel because they want their own kitchen and their own space. And they just park here and then they can walk 2 blocks to downtown. I was like, wow. So I literally went back to Alisa and I was like, hey, I want an Airbnb. And Alisa was like, oh my God.
Of course you do.
So again, the universe provided because we talked to the agent we were working with at that point in time. And then it wasn't even, I think, I don't know, like 2 months later. And he's like, I think I found a house that might work for your Airbnb. And I was like, yeah. So I know it was during a snowstorm, because we literally were walking through like knee-high snow that morning to look at this property, but how we had found it. And again, the listing agent really kind of screwed up on this, but whatever. It worked to our benefit, but he had listed it as a suited property, but didn't mention that it had 3 suites. So the agent we were working with saw 3 kitchens in the listing, and he's like, I think there's 3 suites. So when we went to look at it, yeah, it was great. And it was listed for $329,900, and it was a triplex, non-conforming, but who cares, right? And at that point in time, we were like, what? It had been on the market for 21 days. There had been no offers, no activity at all. So again, we don't want to pay more than we have to, right? And so we had another hassle-free landlord owner who had bought a 4-plex with us, and they're out of Vancouver, and they had said that they would be interested in more 4-plexes, which are really hard to find in our market. So I called them up right away and I said, hey, we found this property. Would you guys be interested in doing another hassle-free with us? And they were like, yeah, for sure. Send us the details. So we send them the details. So we ended up negotiating it. We got it for, I think, $305,000. So again, we don't want to pay more than we have to. And it was an estate sale. And we were like, okay, let's see what we end up doing. So we ended up getting it. We furnished it, did light renovations, and then it was up and running within, I think, 2 months. So yeah. And then anyway, back to your questions of how many people generally come through our Airbnbs, or sorry, what type of people. Yeah. So now that we're running the Airbnbs and we have the 11 properties, honestly, it's a lot of everybody. So obviously things changed a little bit with the whole COVID thing and whatnot, but before we got a lot of new immigrants. So they'd be relocating here, and they would stay for 3, 4, 6 weeks before they were situated. And then that gave them the time to go out and find new places to live, and then get a feel for the city and the different areas. We have a lot of people who move into town for work, whether they're tradespeople or business people. We have people who are just visiting family, but their family might not have enough room for them. And we've actually had people who
hospital stays.
Yeah.
They got somebody who's sick at the hospital.
Yeah.
And we have 3 very large hospitals, as well as the only children's hospital in the province in Saskatoon. And, so there's people coming to deal with those kinds of things. Yeah. So it's really
students. We've had, whether long-term students or people who were in town for their their apprenticeships, at SciAS. So that we've had a few of those. So we get a lot of repeat clients. So our houses are set up along the same lines. So our kitchens always make sure they have a microwave and a Keurig, the stove and the fridge, obviously. And then we have a little snack basket that we give for all the guests. And they, it's just a little thing. We don't announce it or something, but then they come and they're like, oh my gosh, can I have some snacks? This is so cool. And so just those little things where people like that. We always put 4 bottles of water in the fridge. We put 4 little Keurig coffee cups, and then we just do this little basket. So again, we do 2 microwave popcorn, 2 ramen noodles, 4 little packets of instant oatmeal, and then 4 granola bars. So again, nothing too crazy, but all together, and most people don't even use all of this, but a lot of times this all together with all the extra stuff, it costs maybe $5 a stay. And people remember these things. So for us, we just buy it in volume. And
if you feed them, they will come.
but they just, sometimes people don't even touch it, but it was the thought, right? And so, we always make sure that the beds are comfy, that there's pillow top mattresses, that there's comfy sheets, everything's clean. We make sure the linens are good. We just buy Walmart towels, but we always make sure there's no stains and that they're, not overly worn, and those kind of things. People know what they're going to expect when they stay with us. And so we get a lot of not only repeat clients, but referrals. We have one guy right now staying in, I think he's going on month 3 of staying in our one place because of the whole COVID thing. So sometimes, again, pivoting and adapting. So we've had a lot of people extending their stays, and they're just staying with us now because they don't really want to go anywhere. They just are kind of, set up shop, and they're staying with us for a bit. So the way the numbers worked with the whole restructuring and stuff, we had a crap ton of cancellations coming through. Before, we used to run at about 95% occupancy. We price our stuff very affordable. So a 1-bedroom suite for us rents normally for $50 a night. And that's a totally self-contained suite. You have your own bathroom, your own kitchen. Our 2 bedrooms go for $60 a night. Our 3 bedrooms are about $75, again, depending on the place and whatnot. And then we have a 4-bedroom place that we were renting, I think, for $85. So very affordable and way cheaper than a hotel. And so before, we were running at about 95% occupancy. And now, since the whole COVID thing, we've been running at about 75%, which isn't bad. And then we thought that we were just not going to get anything from Airbnb with the cancellations. But it turned out they just did an announcement that for all COVID cancellations, they're actually issuing a 25% rebate to all of the owners and Airbnb hosts who got canceled on. So in theory, we might actually end up making more than we would have if we would have stayed fully rented. So it's funny the way things work out sometimes. All right.
More Airbnb questions.
How many days per month would your Airbnbs be rented? So every house is a little bit different. I'd say like some of them, they're just fully rented, right? Before, again, this is before COVID, we would be maybe 1 or 2 days, just kind of in between bookings that we'd be empty. And they were just solid. And then we would do promos for specific ones. I just kind of played around with the pricing to make sure that it stayed full all the time. And then we do a discount. So if it's a 5 days before your booking, people get a 10% or 15% or whatever it is discount if they book in. And so that helps get last minute bookings so that we stay full. But now I'd say, again, 75%. So probably about 20, 22 days a month that we're still full. So maybe 1 week, I don't know, 1 week a month that might be empty. And again, some of them are still full, some of them emptier than others, but overall, we're fine with it.
How do you advertise?
How do you advertise your Airbnbs? Honestly, just on Airbnb. So we are a super host. So I do everything under my profile. And once you're a super host, which means you have a 4.8 out of 5-star rating, all of your listings get bumped to the top of Airbnb. So when people go and search Saskatoon, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom place, my listings will be at the top of that search. So it's really important to make sure you maintain your superhost status, because that means you're going to get generally booked up before someone who's not a superhost. So that's something we strive really hard for. So I'm always really quick to communicate. I live on my phone, like I always tell people. So the Airbnb guests, they message and I'm always on it. So you will not find a more responsive Airbnb host than us.
So Jonathan, can you share a major mistake that led to important lessons and learnings along the epic journey? Oh, this is a solid question.
That's a great question.
I think there's one of the biggest ones was we were definitely not quick enough to hire people to come on. That was definitely, especially when it came to bookkeeping, those kinds of things. It definitely, when it was just the two of us, we were doing everything. And I mean, on the tools, the bookkeeping, the banking, the pricing of everything, the picking up of the materials, the organizing of the general contracting, all of that. So I think once we realized the value of the education that we actually had in our background, what it was going to be elevated and utilized better by us not being on a lot of these jobs. And I'm not demeaning any of those positions or jobs, but basically there's this saying, and it's basically let the $20 an hour people do those jobs and you go make the $1,000 an hour. And that it was so hard in the beginning. Now we don't even think twice. It's like, hey, we bring this person in, we can amplify everything tenfold. Awesome. Why can we amplify? Because it's one thing I'm not doing anymore or Rochelle's not doing anymore. So we can do those higher level activities.
HLAs.
Thank you. I was just like, I'm saying the letters because the letters ain't coming out.
For sure.
And so, so that would definitely, I think, be a big one.
Yeah.
You want to add to that?
Yeah, for me, the biggest one we learned, and we actually learned this, again, the universe, it looked after us for sure, but we actually learned this on the first deal. And it was not to do business with somebody that does not share your moral and integrity and principles, 100%. Right? So again, Alisa and I, we always have very, very high standards when it comes to integrity, and our word is our bond, and we don't do shady shit. Just not how we run our business. And again, it's interesting too, because
we do fun shit, but not shady.
But it's interesting because again, when we started the company, we were like, look, if we're going to be borrowing people's funds, like we have to absorb the losses, right? And we said that from day one. We were like, let's just, and that's why we don't do joint ventures. Yeah. Because in joint ventures, you are, yes, you could potentially make more, but you could also potentially lose more. So I'm not sure how many of you guys might be invested in different deals, right? At the end of the day, if you enter into a joint venture contract, your returns are not fixed. right? You are exposed to half of the ups and half of the downs in traditional joint ventures, right? Again, everybody's structured differently. But let's say that somebody was going in on a joint venture deal on a property in Toronto right now. So say that you were going to fund the renovation or do whatever you were going to do. And again, we don't know what's going to happen with this whole COVID thing. Last I heard, properties are still moving. Things are still going great. So I'm not saying that this is, good or bad or right or wrong, whatever. But let's just say that the contractor goes bad. You can't control that, right? Say that the experience, I don't know, that you rip down a wall and it ended up costing twice as much. Like all these things that could go wrong on the deal. Well, in a joint venture, you experience half of that. So your potential profit could go down a lot, right? And that was something we were like, you know what? We're not going to expose our investors to that. We just want to pay set returns. We eat any of the losses because again, we're the ones finding the properties. We're the ones hiring the contractors or the team members. We're the ones sourcing everything. And if the things go wrong, why would we pawn that off on our investors, right? So anyway, long story short, that's why when we are doing a discovery session phone call with a potential investor, it's interesting because a lot of people say, oh, well, of course they're going to be testing us or making sure that they're a good fit for us. But honestly, I'm screening them just as hard as they're screening us because we only deal with people who have really high integrity and the same morals and values that we do. We subscribe to win-win partnerships all day long. And if people don't find value in that, if they feel like there has to be a winner and a loser, there can't be win-wins, we just don't subscribe to that mentality. So we're not going to do business with somebody who that's their school of thought because it's not in alignment, right?
It has to be a epic partnership. It's literally, it's everything. It's what's that term? Our hassle-free landlord partnership of epic proportions. That's how it works out. It's got to be that way.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. Investing with integrity. It's the epic way. So at the end of the day, it has to be a good fit. If it's not a good fit, no big deal. And we've talked to people and I've had meetings with people and, they might say, oh, well, I've got $1 million I want to invest with you guys. You should pay me more of an interest rate. I'm like, sorry, our rates are non-negotiable. They are what they are because we know our value, right? So if somebody comes to us and they think that they should be at whatever rate. And I'm like, you should have joined us, 2 years ago when the rates were that then. Sorry, not sorry. And again, just because somebody has money does not make them a good person, right? And we only deal with good people. And that's a really big thing for Alisa and myself. So ever since then, we are very, very, very cautious of only working with people that are good people.
Honestly, back to that lesson, that was the other one when we had to actually fire one investor. Like it just wasn't a good pairing. It just, we just knew that this wasn't going to keep working. So it just came down to, So, again, the lessons never stop. And then, so we've got, where do Airbnbs, Donna, where do Airbnbs fit into your investment programs?
Yeah, great question. So basically they're just hassle-free landlord houses. We just use them differently. And what I love about the Airbnb model is because the cash flow was a little bit higher, we actually were able to purchase properties that if they would have been just regular hassle-free landlord rentals, we would have never been able to afford them. Because they were just too expensive. But because we run them as Airbnbs and the rents are a little bit higher, they made them cost effective for us. And so we were able to kind of, put it under the umbrella, but then kind of custom use it for what it is.
It just allowed us to expand our inventory. Houses that we would not have typically looked at, we were now able to look at.
Yep. Because again, anything on the east side of Saskatoon, in Saskatoon, we have west side, which is the very affordable areas, which is where most of
thing one and thing twos live.
Yeah, that's where most of our inventory is. But when it comes over to the east side, that's where most of the homeowners live, right? And so the house prices are generally more. So when you look at it, when we look at an investment, so if we go to buy the exact same property on the west side, it's going to be $100,000 less than it would be on the east side. This quick numbers, right? And the property taxes on the east side are probably going to be at least $100 more per month. That really eats into the cash flow. And again, anybody who knows how we invest, it's cash flow. Cash flow is king. So at the end of the day, why did we even want this inventory? Because eventually when the market turns, and again, this could be 10 years, it could be 14, who knows, who cares? The cash flows in the meantime. But at the end of the day, these are going to be so easy to flip. Go and put a new kitchen, update, quick paint, whatever. And they're just going to go like hotcakes.
Absolutely. All right. No name. Would or could you rent Airbnb monthly if the opportunity came?
Yeah, and we do.
Yeah.
We have people who ask to rent monthly, and they might say, hey, could you give me a discount if, I want to stay in your place for the month? And yeah, that's fine. And we do. We don't generally do a huge deduction. It might be 10 or 15%, because at the end of the day, if I know that I can rent it and make more money by having people in every couple days or weekly, what do I care? But at the same time, if it is a win-win, then if it's a good fit, it's a good fit. Right now, we've been getting ridiculous requests, like a place that might rent for $1,400 a month. Some people are messaging, hey, can I pay you $900? No, can you not? Yeah. So again, that doesn't make sense. We still have our overhead. We very much run this as a business. And, I'm okay going a little bit down, but it has to make financial sense. We're not desperate by any means. So we know they'll fill up and go from there. But yeah, that's the only kind of monthly we would look at. We wouldn't put a monthly tenant, like somebody who's going to be with us for 3 to 6 months. We wouldn't put them in here because the rents would be a lot lower than what we could rent them for on Airbnb. The other thing is, I don't know how many people here actually host on Airbnb, but the costs for being a host are really cheap. So I didn't know anything about this until I started advertising on Airbnb, but they actually only take like 1.5% of your booking. And they pay like everything for the transaction costs, they pay for. So really it's kind of the same as us basically paying a credit card transaction fee. Yeah. So it is very valuable. Again, they do charge the guest a booking fee too. And again, I'm all about win-win opportunities, but for us, it just makes sense.
Sure does. There you go.
Judy, you guys are good people. I love hearing about your experiences and appreciate all the information you're willing to share. Thank you, Judy. Yeah, well, and you know what? That is honestly, it's one of our missions and our goals, right?
That's what the Epic Hour is honestly about, is we're trying to, give you guys that, get you out of that. Is the cup half full or half empty? Honestly, who gives a shit? Drink what's in there and carry on.
Yeah, and just be grateful that there's anything in there.
It's great. Right? So, we're just really trying to, we hear so many people that are like, hey, I'm whether you're going to do your first flip or whether you're looking to be a real estate investor, and there's so many people out there, and they just want to hear how, we were just, again, everyday people that now are running a company, and it didn't happen overnight. A lot of people see it that way, but no, we're at 7 years now to get where we are, and it'll keep growing and going, and so we appreciate that you guys are there. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give back and help you wherever we can. We honestly don't have the time to be coaches for people. With that being said, though, we do have the time to put an hour together so that we can tell you guys stories, or we can answer these questions and motivate you wherever we can.
Totally. Yeah. So thank you.
So Shannon, hi. Are the fund to flip investments unsecured or secured?
They're all secured. So the thing that makes it a fund to flip is that you actually get tied to the asset, the house that you're flipping. So you really have the same power that the bank would have. So you get registered. We have the mortgage with you, and you get registered on title. So therefore, we cannot sell or refinance that property without you getting paid your full amount of principal plus your accrued interest. So you're literally registered on title, fully secured by brick and mortar, is how we affectionately like to call real estate.
100%. Awesome.
So a couple things, we'll go back.
Sure.
There's one last question.
Oh, we got another question. Okay.
Are there zoning restrictions for Airbnbs that cause problems with neighbors if not allowed?
Oh, let me answer that question.
I'll be right back. Yeah, you answer that question.
So Airbnbs in Saskatoon right now are still the wild, wild west. There really isn't a lot of legislation or laws or those kinds of things. It literally was being looked at by the city to put some different things in place. They've discussed everything from business licenses to all kinds of scenarios. Nothing has been laid out concrete as far as I know yet. And a lot of things now have been put on hold because of the COVID-19. But really, short-term rentals, I think a lot of people want to take these really out of context. They're really just a rental property. So if there's something going on in a short-term rental property, it's no different than a long-term rental property. So if someone's being noisy or throwing a party that they shouldn't, it's the same thing you would do if you have a neighbor that owns the house. You phone the police and you say, I have a noise complaint, you know, or there's something going on. Really, that's what you do. Rochelle's really good to communicate with the neighbors and say, hey, if you see anything that's bizarre or strange, here's my number, call me, right? So we do try and do that for the neighbors, but as of right now, Saskatoon is literally still the wild, wild west.
Thank goodness. It makes it easy.
It does.
Yeah. And a couple other things that we wanted to, why don't we talk about this?
Sure, let's go into that.
So talking about goals and setting up wild things, so we always practice what we preach, right? So we don't just talk about it and then not live by it. We literally do the things. So we decided, and we talked to our marketing crew after we set the new 17% returns from any hassle-free landlord houses that are selling from April 15th to June 15th. We've had a tremendous amount of people reaching out, which is incredible. And we're so grateful for that. So lots of people are at the mortgage broker seeing what they can qualify for. We actually just had one client. He already had a $400,000 hassle-free landlord house with us before at 15. And he said, you know what? Things might be a little unpredictable right now. Why not lock in whatever financing I can just in case I lose my job? So he went back to the mortgage broker, just got pre-approved for $800,000 worth of mortgages. He came back and bought our 2 biggest properties. So as of the end of next month, he's going to actually have $1.2 million worth of properties. So just to put this in perspective, guys, I'm actually going to crunch the numbers for you right now. Okay. $1.2 million. So you times that by the amount of money he has in down payment, 20% down payment and closing costs. So 21.5. So he's got $258,000 in down payments tied up in his property that he owns. We just rented from him. Right. And so let's say at the 17%. So he is going to end up making $3,655 a month of cash flow. So again, this is a bigger investor. He obviously has great income to be able to qualify for that much in mortgages. But what can an extra $3,500 of passive cash flow do for you guys? Right? Like, again, what could an extra $500 of monthly passive cash flow do for you guys? Right? This is the stuff that we help people put together. Anyway, that's a plug, but just putting it out there. So we were super excited and we love big goals, right? So we actually decided to set a really big, hairy, audacious goal. So what are we trying to do, Alisa?
We are trying to work with moving 50 houses in 60 days.
Exactly. So we are going to actually try and onboard 50 new hassle-free landlord houses in the next 2 months. So right now, we know we already have 10 under contract. So if you want to help us with this goal, or you know other people who should partake in this, because you know this could change their life, please send them our way. We would love to have a consultation with them and see if it's a good fit. Yeah,
be part of the epic journey to $1 billion. Like, be part of something bigger than yourself. This is so amazing for so many people. We love the stories. We hear so many things from so many people, how this changed their lives. And that is the best freaking part, that we served people so well. It's the whole reason we go into these partnerships. It's everything to us.
Yeah, it's all about the ripple effect. So so that's the plug. So if you're interested in learning more, feel free to contact us, reach out afterwards. It's all good. Do we have any more questions?
We had one from Donna about mortgage brokers. I messaged her back just saying we could give her the information, but if you want to say that.
Do you want to put their information on the chat?
Yeah, I can. She was just wondering if we work with our own or if we suggest investors to get their own.
Yeah. Good question.
We have, again, back to team, it's foundation here. We have an amazing team between lawyers and mortgage brokers and realtors. So everything is here for you. Again, that's part of making this hassle-free, right? And it actually works way better. We could tell you 1,000 stories of how it is 100 times better if you work with our team, because they know the ropes, they know the province, they know everything here.
Yeah, and our mortgage brokers are not tied to us. Right? So they just happen to be people who are hustling, and they are willing to take calls at all hours. They're willing to work evenings and weekends, which again, good luck finding a bank that's going to do that for you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't cost you anything. Right? They're going to rep you. They're going to shop around once they write your file and get you the best rate. And, they want to hear your story and see what meshes well for you. We do work with 2 main ones in Saskatoon here. So one is Shar Waitman. So you can follow her on Instagram or social media. So she's a TMG broker. And then we have Devin and Wes. So Wes is who we work with. They're Your Mortgage Now, or Your Mortgage Link or something. Anyway, they're all over social media too, but we'll put the information in the comments so you can reach out to them directly, or we can always send you an intro. Let us know. We're just here to help.
100%.
So, yeah.
So we can go back to this.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were doing the do's and don'ts to become and stay motivated. Again, this is for every
I
individual.
think we talked about that.
Okay. All right. Then what makes us successful?
Over it.
Honestly, pairing with an amazing investors that have the same integrity that we do, causing us to work harder and keep pushing. We just are so, honestly, you guys, from the bottom of our hearts, we are just out to put out these ripple effects to help you. Our mission, like Rochelle says it all the time, we are here to help the little people get ahead. And what I mean by that is there are so many people out there that don't know how to leverage their home equity. You guys, don't go buy a kitchen. Don't go buy a car with it. Buy some hassle-free landlord houses and then use those rent payments, that cash flow, to buy the car, to buy the kitchen. And you still now own that equity in your home. And there's so many people out there that they need that half an hour just to learn about that, and it changes their lives. It's everything. But now all of a sudden you have that extra money to buy that vacation every year without using your credit card and then having to spend the whole year paying it off, right? So we're on literally a worldwide mission to get that education out there to everyone so that you can better your lives. That's why are we so successful? Because it's all about you guys.
Yeah. And the other side of it too is we have a very large mission, right? And we don't have a plan B. This is it. We're all in.
Ships
right?
are burned, bridges are gone. That's straight ahead.
Yeah. So we just have to keep moving forward, and that's what we do. And have we messed up? Sure. I mean, it's 2 steps forward, 1 steps back. I mean, isn't that really the life of an entrepreneur? I love that one where it's like, what you think the journey is going to look like. And then you see the other one is like, what does the journey actually look like? Right. And that's really what it is. Yeah. And it's just not giving up on yourself. It's just not giving up on yourself. And it's just really making sure that you're 100% committed and you're staying there and you're just getting it done. Mm-hmm. So again, success looks different to all sorts of people. I'm really hard on myself. I set unrealistic or what might seem like completely ostentatious goals. And it's just because I like to hustle. And that's just how I work. And if I don't reach the goal, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm just going to say, well,
tell them about your 40-year-old one. What are you working on right
I already
now?
talked about that.
Oh, okay.
Boring. But
okay.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, when I'm 40, I'm going to be financially free. And for my 40th birthday, I want to run an Ironman. Right. So again, like I can't run around the block right now. I can't bike and I can't swim. And I'm 70 pounds overweight. So, woo, go me. But at the end of the day, I hired a nutrition coach, and I'm just going to hire the right coaches to make sure that I can do the things. So with the nutrition coach, I'm down 11.5 pounds. And again, still got another 60 to go. But, I'll hit my weight by December, and then I'll be able to start training. And yeah, let's do them things.
So Sib has said, given COVID-19, are there better deals in the market right now, lower prices? Again, this comes back to why Saskatoon. We were already a bottom pretty much out market. So the housing prices have not moved, have not changed. And honestly, people are still buying and selling houses. It's not really here affected much. Nothing as of right now. Again, 30 days from now, 2 months from now, that could change. But as of this moment,
yeah. And you want to hear my take on this? And again, it's got a little bit doom and gloom, but I feel like because there's so many people sitting at home, and I know a lot of people who actually decided, hey, you know what? I'm just going to sit at home and get my CERB benefit and blah, 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 whatever. They're not being very smart with the money. They're not saving money to be able to pay the taxes when tax time comes. So my forecast is that next year, by the time tax time comes, there's going to be so many people who've redlined it this whole time, didn't use their money the way they should have or smartly, that they're going to not be able to pay their mortgages. they're not going to be able to be in a good financial position. And I feel like there's gonna be a lot of foreclosures coming next year. And that's really gonna be the time when there's a lot of exposure on the market and a time to get good deals. And again, I'm not wishing that on people. I'm just looking at what's happening in the market, the way people are going and let's just defer the mortgage.
Exactly.
Do you know what happens when you defer a mortgage? They're going to take that payment. They're going to pin it all the way on the back end of your mortgage. So you're actually going to end up paying tens of thousands of dollars of more interest if you can't catch up that payment, right? Like the banks are loving this. They don't give a shit about you. Oh yeah, we'll help you. No, they don't care. They're making off really well. So again, if you have to do that because it's either that or lose your home, by all means do that. But if you're just doing it because you're like, well, I might lose my job, please don't. It's just going to be a bad ball game. So
yeah, I literally, ironically, driving back from where we were coming from, literally got a phone call from the company that my car payments are made to. And they're like, hey, do you know that if you need to, like, we can totally, like, you can defer some payments and everything. And I was like, dear, I'm good. Please, no, don't touch. It's not broken. Don't fix it. So yeah, just leave it as it was. I was shocked that they were literally reaching out to say, hey, if you can't pay or you don't want to, we can work with you. And I'm going, what?
Yeah, but they're not doing that because they're like, let's help you.
Yeah, no.
They're doing that because they're like,
yeah,
we're going to make so much more interest by doing this, right? So again, look at the whole scenario, guys. Like there's just a lot of moving parts to what's happening with the economy right now. But I don't even want to get into politics and all that crap. So
not happening.
One more question.
Okay, Sid. Is 70% rate of return on HFLP only for 2 years or as long as you own the property? Ooh,
yeah, good question. It's as long as you own the property with us. So
and
this is the kicker. So even if you only got one hassle-free landlord house right now at 17% to lock in that rate, you would actually be locked in for the life of that deal. So if you held on to it for 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever, you'll get 17% returns, as well as any new deals you buy. As long as you have that one active, if you come back in a year and buy another house, you'll also be grandfathered in at that 17% return. So some people have said too, what if I already have a 15% return house with you? How would that look? So again, this is where it's case by case, and we recommend people set up a phone call. But basically, if you bought a new property, then what would happen is when your other properties come up for renewal, you can always sell those 15% houses back and then turn those into, switch it over to a new property, but get new 17% properties. So there's lots of room and ways we can work with people. But again, right now, this is just for these specific houses, but it's a great time. And even if you only qualify for a $125,000 property,
we can help you.
Yep, for sure.
Exactly.
So that's that. Where are we at for time?
4 more minutes.
4 more minutes.
Wow,
Okay,
holy
one
crap,
that really went by.
No
we were going to
kidding.
talk about our next week's, I thought, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So we can do 10 a.m. or 3 p.m. You're available all day. I don't know what your schedule's like.
What was the time last week?
We did
That was
Noon.
really good.
Yeah.
noon hour time.
You can't do that time? Because
We
that,
can- yeah, we can.
I think we should do
Okay.
that
We
one.
would pick a different time, but yeah, we can.
That
do
one had the best reach, so let's do that.
Totally, let's do it.
Okay, awesome. Do we have any more questions?
Just a comment from Mike and Christine. Just want to say that we love your enthusiasm and it's been great working with you all. Literally take money to the bank. Can't wait for the next deal to get into, especially in this market and economy. These returns are fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike and Christine. We love you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been great because, you guys are one of the ones that were like, friends, family, come on over. And we actually hosted a presentation in your living room, right?
Yes.
So again, we always tell people, like, we'll do whatever you guys want. Even right now, if somebody wanted us to do a Zoom call, for your friends or family, and again, your friends and family could be all over Canada, whatever, but let us know. We would love to lead a presentation for your friends and family to let them know about.
Most underutilized tool on the planet is just ask. Just ask. What happens? If you don't ask, you never get the answer. You never get the opportunity. You never. If you ask, what are all the things it could be? Right?
The worst you're going to hear is no.
Right?
Another thing to keep in mind, actually, can people put their hands up? Is there like a thing for that? I don't know if that's a thing, but if you can put your hands up or say yes or whatever, who would be interested in if we did a webinar where we would do one evening where we just break down the hassle-free landlord program and exactly how that works. And then we would do another one where we just break down how the fund to flip and the ninja flips would work. And that would be utilizing cash or home equity line of credits or self-directed funds at Olympia Trust. Would there be any demand for that? Again, you could invite your friends if they wanted to learn a little bit more. Like that's where, if people wanted to learn, okay, cool.
All right.
Because that's what we've had a lot of people messaging about content and what they want us to talk about on these webinars. And honestly, we're not here to sell you. We don't want Epic Hour to be a glorified sales pitch. That's not our intention with this at all. We just wanted to have a platform where we can hang out with you guys. But if there is enough demand, yeah, we'd love to run those webinars for you.
Yeah.
So
okay. Well,
yeah,
we'll
look into
watch,
doing that.
get on our subscription list for our newsletter.
Yeah.
Make sure you're in contact with our website and watch our Facebook and Instagram, because we will, obviously it sounds like it's worth it. We'll announce a date when we will have these opportunities available for these education sessions on just our specific programs.
Awesome. And then, so just to clarify, so next week's webinar for the Epic Hour will be when?
April 29th, it's a Wednesday at 12 p.m. CST.
Okay, so Wednesday, April 29th at 12 p.m., so noon CST. So I'm not even going to try with the time zones because this is just a hot mess, but we'll definitely keep you posted. And again, we would love to have you on there and invite your friends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all we got. So that's it. No more last minute questions or anything. We're all good.
Yep, we're good to go.
Cool.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys.
See you
Stay
next week.
epic.